So of course, I will just open with a word of prayer. So let us pray. Dear God, as we are gathered here as sports individuals, as we are gathered here on this day or Labor Day, putting in some work to encourage, to give knowledge to those who want to become a part of our industry. Lord, I just ask that you guide their thinking, guide the thinking process around what it takes. As some of us are contributing at this time, I just ask that you continue to strengthen us, to guide us as we are contributing to industry, one that we love so dearly, and continue to make national, international representation. Lord, as we continue to carry this service out, I ask that you just bless our families who are in support of us. Lord, I just ask that you bless the different communities. I ask that you bless the athletes, those who are a part. Lord, I just ask that you continue to guide and protect each of our steps as we go into this an Olympic year, that all will be well, that we will be able to participate and come out the better for it. These are the mercies I ask in your most precious name I pray. Amen. Amen. So, of course, thanks so much for our panelists, for our participants for joining again. It is indeed a pleasure to be here as your host. But of course, I leave the official welcome to our Dean, Dr. Camilla Hilton, to bring the welcome. But I'm just notified that the welcome will be done by our Vice Dean, Dr. Andrew Lamb, on behalf of the Dean. And of course, he will also bring his greetings. So he'll bring welcome, and then he will greet as Vice Dean. Dr. Lamb.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Griggs. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'll bring you greetings from the Faculty of Science and Sport at the University of Technology, Jamaica, and especially from the Caribbean School of Sports Sciences. I also bring you the welcome and warmly wish you a wonderful day in this workshop, in this webinar that we're having here. And we're doing Sports Career Day, and we're opening it up with a panel of experts that have reached some of the highest ranks in the field. And so I applaud this initiative from the Caribbean School of Sports Sciences as an effort to lead people on a pathway in the sports. Now, choosing a career is never an easy or simple decision, something that should be taken lightly. It requires deep thought, it requires patience in the search, and it requires information. And the Caribbean School of Sports Sciences have put together a wonderful program, a panel of experts to help guide you on your way and making your decision in regard to a career in sports. From the session I've seen so far, we've had several experts, and they've shared their personal and academic experiences. And I think it will benefit everyone here. I want to thank them as well for making the time and putting forward the effort to be here to represent their careers, but also to influence the next generation of athletes and coaches and therapists, all different aspects, managers, agents, all of that are to come. So I want you to, as participants, particularly the students, to make the best of this opportunity, to learn as much as you can, to get that information in order to make a solid decision regarding your career in sport. The University of Technology stands ready to guide along the way with highly qualified and competent staff in sport. Some of them are here and are the members of the organizing committee for this webinar. Some are some of our experts, persons who have graduated and have gone on to successful careers. So I applaud this effort. I want to say special thanks to the head of school Dr. Winter Adams, for her leadership and her commitment to this kind of cause in helping future students, and for bringing this out, not just to the persons here in Jamaica, but for all who can access this platform. So welcome and have a wonderful time in this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lam. And of course, he spoke on behalf of the Dean. Dr. Lam is our Vice Dean at the Faculty of Science and Sport at the University of Technology. So of course, we're going to move on now to our own head of school, head of the Caribbean School of Sports Sciences. That's Dr. Donna Marie Winter Adams, and she's going to take us through her presentation on what the school does. Who are we at the Caribbean School of Sports Sciences? Dr. Adams, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us as we present on Sporting Up Your Career. So at the University of Technology, the Caribbean School of Sports Sciences is the academic sports unit for the university, Center of Excellence in Sports Science Education. We have a diverse program for students coming into our school. Let me minimize this part of it. It is the first university level sports academic program in Jamaica and the Caribbean. Our focus is to produce high quality graduates who are trained as athletic trainers, coaches, or sports managers. And we want to advance research because we know the practical stuff. We have the success in our athletes. We want to document our success. Our brand statement at University of Technology is to produce work-ready graduates for careers in any walk of life. And so for sports sciences, in athletic training, in coaching, media, facilities management, sports management, we want to make sure our graduates are work-ready and world-class ready. In terms of our mission, we offer robust and diverse opportunities that build character, teach, motivate, and foster collaboration while preparing our students to succeed in all facets of life. And we want to emphasize the character building. We want them to know that when you see a UTech graduate, you're seeing someone with integrity, who is honest, who's respectful. We call it in terms of our mnemonic, raise it in terms of all the core values that we embody. We are building all our principles on solid foundations. We're developing sports through research, teaching, service, and team spirit. Anywhere you work, you have to have team spirit. And so in the midst of that, I have to just break it up with a little rebus that we have. So we have 4 instances, the 4 in the stand. So it's 4 instances. We want to make graduates who are a cut above the rest. 2 funny for words that I've introduced rebus in our very solid presentation. And I now must get back to square one. Now, when you think about it, sport is now the vehicle that we can use to drive the economy, not just for Jamaica, but for the world. So you'll have UNESCO having the Sustainable Development Goals, and sport is part of that. Sport for peace, sport for development. I see Tracy writing on my screen. And we look at it in terms of Jamaica. In 2009, we did an analysis and we realized that sport was contributing about 2.6% to our gross domestic product. We're talking about an overall income of 225 million US dollars for earnings and looking at 204 elite athletes. Since 2009, we have gone way beyond that. So we're saying to you that look at where you can contribute, where you can get a slice of the pie. Go beyond just the traditional careers of lawyer, doctor, Indian chief, as we say. Think of where we can go into new career structures and make significant improvement. We have the success of Usain, the success of Shellyan, and our many great athletes. How did they get there? They need sports agents, they need business managers to assist them, they need coaches, they need facilities managers to make sure the facilities are okay. So what about choosing careers in that area? And so we want to highlight that the success of these athletes don't come just by night, but come from development and training of technical staff that will assist them. So when you think of it as a tree, underneath you have strong support. So what you see in terms of the tree represents what you have underneath. You have to have strong support in order to support that tree. So we have our students being trained in biomechanics, anatomy and physiology, methodology of teaching sport and physical fitness, exercise physiology, sport nutrition and fluid management, law, psychology, all because we are looking at the three specializations that we will have: sports management, athletic training, art and science of coaching. We want you to be stars wherever you go. So whether you're going to be the manager, the star manager of an athlete, or if you are going to be a team manager, we want you to be very successful at what you do. So we provide the required training. Facilities manager, we are there for you. If you have HR in the sporting organization, everyone should have it in terms of negotiation. You need an HR manager, sport agent to guide the athlete. Who should you talk to when you do interviews? How do you conduct yourself in interviews? What do you say on your social media page? You know, sometimes we're talking about the social media pages now as the reference that you didn't know that you had. For the athletic training, you can be an athletic trainer where you're looking at the acute management of athletes and persons who are physically active. You can become a personal trainer. You can become a program manager. You can become a coach. You can become a teacher. You can become a team analyst. You can become a journalist, a training and development manager. There are so many careers that you can get out of sports sciences. And whilst for UTech, we realize that we can't train everybody. The sports sciences degree, the Bachelor of Science in Sports Sciences, will act as leverage to go to other areas. You can get into careers in sports medicine, physiotherapy, sport instructor, lawyer, psychologist, all because of sport and what we want. Now you realize that time and time again, there is one particular lawyer who is called up so many times because of his grasp of law applied to sport. We want to see it develop in such a way that we have laws created for sport and not just the tweaking of the law because of sport. Now, sport has moved beyond just fun and games. It never was. It is a science. The body is a well tuned machine. And when you look at it, when you do biomechanics, we're talking about the physics of the body. So you have to know how you're going to train that body to perform very well, how you're going to manage and train that athlete. We want excellence in everything we do. And so when we train our students, we train them so that they have daily commitment to producing excellent results. And we really want you to listen to what successful people have in common. They talk about in the habits of highly successful people or highly effective people. They say put in 10,000 hours to whatever you love. When you are top in the game, it means when you look at those persons, they spend days, weeks just honing the craft. So I introduced athletic trainers, and this is fairly new for Jamaica. It is established as a career in other countries, but it's fairly new for us. The athletic trainer is different from the physiotherapist in that the athletic trainer is going to manage the athlete and physically active persons. And we're looking at preventing, examining, diagnosing, and intervening in terms of the management of acute or chronic emergency situations related to sport. So if you can train your athlete and prevent the injuries, even better in terms of not having the downtime. So that's a new career option for you. Athletic trainer, as we said, responding to acute sport emergency situations as opposed to the physiotherapist who is looking more at the chronic management of patients. So athletic trainer focus on athletes and the physically active persons, whereas physiotherapists are rather broad-based. And when they bring them to a state of wellness, where they need to continue with physical activity to maintain the health, that's when you have them being turned over to the athletic trainer. So we want you to think differently. So you expect to see with this elephant 4 legs. But if you look closely, you can see almost like you're seeing 9 legs. We want you to see beyond the ordinary, see beyond the traditional careers of lawyer, doctor, Indian chief, see what you can achieve in sports. When you have an industry that can generate, heard in recent times, $500,000, $500,000 US dollars, not half a million, about 500 million US dollars. You're talking about something that you can really make a difference. We are going to equip you to go to the next level. So you start out with your Bachelor of Science in Sports Sciences, but you can go on to other postgraduate degrees. You can certainly enter a program to do the master's to go to another level. For every career choice that you go into, you find that people are coming out, everybody coming out with a bachelor's degree. You want to keep ahead of the game, then you can get your master's, you can get other postgraduate training. We offer the Master of Science in Physical Education and Sport in collaboration with GC Foster College of Physical Education and Sport. The applications are sent to UTech. We do the processing, we do the oversight in terms of the program, making sure everything is okay, following up with external examiners, with lecturers. The program is very robust. It's collaborative program that you get the best of the two institutions, and it's covered over 24 months. We know you want to continue with your employment, and so the course is done on weekends, online and blended. Before pandemic struck and everybody moved online, the program was already online. So there was not much adjustment that we had to do for the Master of Science because we recognized that we needed to be flexible for the working persons. The requirements to enter the Master of Science: you need a bachelor's degree in either PE or sports sciences with a GPA of 2.86. There is a prior learning assessment that you can do, recognizing that you might have years of experience as a cricket coach or some other sport that you're in. We can look at it and we actually quantify it. We have someone who does that in our prior learning assessment unit, does the assessment to see how you can matriculate into the program. And there are opportunities out there. As I said, this is a new area in terms of sport and in terms of careers. We're finally documenting what we have always known and done. So you have opportunities as sports sciences lecturer, sport administrators, sport development managers, recreational programmers, researchers. These are all areas that we need. When you look at it in terms of output for research, yes, some of the developed countries are now doing a lot of research, but we don't have a lot that we're documenting in the Caribbean and in Jamaica. You really need the research. We need to document what we know. This is our lab. It's a little bit more than this. No, our performance and rehabilitation lab at UTech, where our students learn to train. So you learn on live people because yes, we can do the videos, and videos are excellent in terms of producing good quality graduates, but you also want to have clients come in. We have updated our services. So yes, ultrasound is there, TENS machines there. We also have our shockwave therapy machine that can offer advanced therapy for clients. We have our treadmill that we can use to monitor your gait, do gait analysis, do your energy expenditure analysis. And you're thinking treadmill? Yes, our lecturers are so trained to guide our students for them to properly do that. We have research that is going on, whether it's on junior athlete transition to know the successful factors for athletes to transition successfully. You have sport education in the pandemic. How are we modifying? How are we doing that? You'd think that would have stopped teaching because it's sport. No, students still learn how to do hurdles, how to teach, how to jump hurdles right online and doing it in a nice, fun way. We are very creative as a people, and so we have made use of that. So research is going on. And you're asking yourself, how do you choose a career? This is a lifelong thing, and you're going to change. You might change, but you want to get it right to a certain point, and everything will add up to the end result that you want. So, what are you good at doing? What do you love? You want to make your job your joy. So, you want to make sure that every time you go to work, it does not feel like work. When I first came to UTech, I didn't think I was going to end up in teaching. But I remember saying to one of my friends, if they ever knew that I just love coming to work, they would even pay me and I would still turn up because this is what I love. That's my passion, sharing information. And you can get career help from software, online software. Create a vision statement. Always create your vision statement. What is your purpose, your meaning in life? Write it down because you tend to forget. Remember, the Bible tells you that You look like your face in the mirror and you forget. You'll have a vision today and you forget 2 years' time. So you make sure you write it down and you check it. Why you need your personal mission statement? For clarity, for focus. It guides your day-to-day action. So if whatever you're doing daily does not align to your personal mission statement, think that you're taking away from what is important to you. You want to do something every day that is going to help you to attain your goal. Identify your goals and choose an accountability partner, whether it's your mother, your father, your friend, your brother. Choose someone who you say, okay, I want to get this done. Today, I am to look upon careers in sport. Tomorrow, I am to look at universities and look at UTech program in sport. So you want that. You want to make sure you know somebody who will say, what have you done towards your goals? Look at your self awareness. Find out about yourself. What am I best at? I am best when I'm doing what? I'm worst when I'm doing what? What do I really love to do at school? What am I good at? What people tell you. Sometimes you ask people, know who to ask as well. What do you think are my natural skill sets? What do you think I'm good at? What do I really love to do in my personal life? And what are my natural talents and gifts? When you can align your talents and gifts to your career choice, you are going to succeed and work will not be work. This is when you convert your job into your joy. And always spend time to examine where you are. So you're never too young and never too old to examine where you are, because as Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. Imagination is one of those inner qualities that you want. If I had unlimited time and resources, what would I choose to do? I would tell everybody I would do motivational speaking. So anybody calls me from any company to say, can you help my staff to get to a new level? Listen to me. I'm there with you. I'm into that. We talk about presentations on adapting to change, work-life balance, whatever you're doing in terms of self-development. I'm into that. Those are the books that I read. Besides pharmacology texts, those are the books that I love. Who is the person that I want to be? They're clicking and the thing not clicking. So when we mold our students, we don't just mold them in a vacuum. We want them to give service. So I tell you that in sports sciences, we work with a lot of organizations. We work with the sporting organizations. So here you see us working with the Jamaica Football Federation to do the safeguard workshop, as well as to put their coaches at another level. We facilitate workshop for the training and development of their coaches. These are some of our students in action at open days at school. So we're showing them how to monitor the cardiovascular profiles for the student who is on the cycle. And we entertain overseas guests because they wanted to come and to see the interaction between sport and tourism in Jamaica. And we're very successful at both. So why not come to Jamaica to learn all of that? There's our student who is showing the teacher how to do that powerful squat. There we have everything. So once you invite us, we're there. For the youngsters who want a sport camp, we run a sport camp. It's just in the pandemic that we pause our sport camp. We usually have annually our sports sciences conference. Because of the pandemic, we switched to webinars. So we did webinars on resetting the core, showing you how you can still do physical activity and physical education online. We did that. And so we are quite prepared and adept because we had to set up our own proposal as to how we're going to continue teaching, because the pandemic did not mean that life was going to stop. We had to make sure that we are well prepared. So when we have this unprecedented success in track and field, we must recognize that it comes with training, with development. There are careers involved. So you see Usain, you see Simon Tomlinson for tennis. You have to recognize that they were trained by persons who are good at what they do. You can be such a person in terms of working in sports science and getting your degree in sports sciences. These are two of our students, Gareth Henry and Chevin Paul. They're in the national level and doing very well, top of their game, but they came to us and they made sure they got their degrees. Our past students, one of our panelists earlier was Richard was Andrew Richardson, who is a past student, but he made sure that when he wanted to stop playing sport, he was trained to go to that level. Remember, opportunity knocks once, pam, you want to make sure that you are ready. So become part of the tradition of excellence by coming to UTEC in our sports sciences education degree. Matriculation requirements, 5 CXC or equivalent subjects at CSEC, and we want grades 1 to 3. Or if you have CAPE grades 1 to 3, and you have to have 2 science subjects. Why? Because the body is a living, breathing science machine. You want to make sure you get that quality in terms of thinking of how you're going to use that body to get to new levels. We are now accepting KPE, either Unit 1 or Unit 2 and or Unit 2 as one of the science subjects. So if you have Unit 1 and Unit 2, that will be considered 2 science subjects because we did the analysis. The physical education level at CAPE will put you in a good format to go into our program, not at the CXC level, but at the CAPE level. We also recognize that during the pandemic, students are not going ahead with some of their exams as they ought to. And so we give you up to 2 years to matriculate in the system. You can come and start and then go to our UTEC Academy whilst you do some foundation courses in the degree program until you matriculate fully. We allow that. We have to be able to adapt to change. In terms of contact information, I'm Donna Marie Winter Adams, and my contact is there, my UTEC email address. You also have the ABLE Program Director, Dr. Melissa Sanderson, who will guide you as well, and our administrative support, Ms. Keon Banton. She will provide all the necessary documents that you need and how to guide you. Even if you do not matriculate instantly in the program, what we want to tell you, still come, let us guide you. We have the knowledge, we are patient, we are persons recognizing that we're grooming the next generation. And part of that is to be supportive. So even though, yes, we have academic advisors for the students in the program, we also want to guide the students who want to come into the program. Because if you want successful people, committed people, you have to groom them from early. And so I thank you for coming out to our webinar and make sure you ask lots and lots of questions of the panelists, very able people who are all involved in sport. And so back to you, Mr. G.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adams. Of course, you would have gotten a very clear picture of what you need to do to be involved in the Caribbean School. And I dare say when you become involved, and of course prior to, because I know some of you will definitely make that choice to be a part of the Caribbean School and by extension, the Faculty and University of Technology, Jamaica. Thanks very much, Dr. Adams, for sharing that with us. All right, so we're now going to go into the panelist discussion, and I'm so looking forward to this, to hearing from some of the panelists. But of course, I'll just take the opportunity first to welcome them to Mr. Ricardo Chambers, Mr. Paulton Gordon, Mr. Denzel Williams, and of course, Mr. Everett Owen. It is my distinct pleasure to do so. But of course, while I welcome, I'm going to ask Mrs. Haynes McCullough to start with the introduction of our panelists. And then, of course, that is going to be followed by Mr. Wong, who will also introduce, Mr. Michael McIntosh, who will also do the presentation. So without further ado, please go ahead and introduce our 4 panelists.
Good afternoon, everyone. The task is mine to introduce a special Jamaican, Ricardo Chambers, past student of Calabar High. He played the sports of cricket and lawn tennis. His leadership qualities result in him being given the position as team captain of both sport. One of his most memorable moment as an athlete was being a part of a squad that won the knockout cricket title in 2005. His passion for sport resulted in him pursuing a journalism degree at Carmack. He has been very active in sports journalism. His experience, has seen him cover sports for various media houses, including KLS Group, RJR Communication Group, the International Olympic Committee, the IAAF, now known as World Athletics, and CWI. He currently works with Sportsmax and is assiduously preparing for the Tokyo Olympic Games, where he will bring coverage to Jamaica and around the world. He has a warm heart and loves to smile. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Ricardo Chambers with us this afternoon to share his experience as a sports journalist.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have been asked to introduce Mr. Paulton Gordon. Mr. Gordon is a management professional with over 25 years of leadership experience in both the private and public sector management, community development, sports, and the education sector. He is currently employed as the Director, Community Service and Development at the University of Technology, Jamaica, where his overall responsibilities include coordinating the service learning module and leading the community relations and corporate social responsibility projects. He is also part of the sports management team's teaching staff at the Faculty of Science and Sports. He comes highly qualified as he attained a BS degree in economics and management, a postgraduate course a master's in tourism administration, and an executive master's in sports organization management. Michael.
Our next presenter is Denzel Williams. Denzel hailed from the community of Palmer's Crossing, Clarendon. He's the second of two children for his mom. He loves to play football and he plays the sports competitively and recreational. Denzel currently holds a bachelor's degree with honors in physiotherapy from the UWI, Mona. He has several certifications in the field of medicine from the US, USA, Canada, and the UK. He has applied his knowledge and skills in a wide range of service, in particular to the Southern Regional Health Authority, and is currently the head of physiotherapy service at the Mandeville Hospital in Mandeville. He has served his country on several occasions, being a national team for football, athletics, and other sports. He's also the founder and executive director of the Friday Live Football Academy. His involvement with different sporting teams has resulted in him traveling extensively. On two occasions, he had actually had to save lives while in flight. Mr. Williams is a firm believer in God, and he attributes him being able to overcome financial hardship through university for him. He's a father of two and is very committed to his partner. Denzel enjoyed doing some housework and gardening. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Denzel Williams.
Our final presenter in this group is none other than Mr. Everett Owen. Mr. Owen is a graduate of the G.C. Foster College and the University of Technology Jamaica and is presently a retired lecturer. He has contributed to educating youngsters in the field of physical education and health, as well as family life. He also taught at the secondary school level and was a practical physical education examiner for the Teaching Council of Jamaica. His qualifications make him a very reliable consultant in sports, as he currently holds a master's degree in physical education and sports, a FIVA Level 1 coaching certification, and a Level 1 IAAF coaches certification. He is also a Grade 3 official with the Jamaica Football Referees Association. He has been very involved in his community, holding the position of chairman for numerous organizations and being an executive member of different sporting associations. He has also been actively involved in participating in organizing sport for his church family. His love for sport has also led him into journalism, as he is presently a track and field statistician and correspondent for Radio Jamaica Limited and a correspondent for The Observer. A dedicated sports professional, Mr. Owen is an avid Christian who is a husband and a father. In his leisure time, he enjoys the outdoors and everything involving sports. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Everard Owen.
Thank you so much, presenters, for introducing our panelists. It is really a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to having these esteemed gentlemen with us. Of course, I'm seeing Denzel, and I'm thinking, no, man, it's really been a while, but I know he has been doing a lot. He's really involved as a physiotherapist. And of course, I'd like to ask him first, how did you become, a physiotherapist? How did you become involved in that? And of course, some of the challenges you would have probably encountered in becoming a physiotherapist.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having Mr. Garrix and to Mr. McIntosh and all the esteemed panels and presenters who have introduced. It's an honor to be here. I first heard about physiotherapy while attending Glenmere High School. At the time, it was a guidance counselor who had showed me and pretty much brought it to my attention. Surprisingly, when I applied to the universities, I actually got into three things. I got into the MBBS program, physiotherapy and pharmacy. I chose physical therapy because of the sports nature at the time, and to date, no regret.
Very good. I was I was thinking that maybe, because we would have played some football, I thought you were going to say you want to become a footballer, but you recognize you weren't so good. I thought you were going down that road. Having played casually with you, being a casual footballer myself, but it is good to know that, it was something that, you were showed and you have no regrets, of doing that. So
in saying that though, Sir Garrix, for the panel, actually I played football competitively from primary school, but my older brother, who is also a former reggae boys, and mommy having two sons, she decided that one had to get banned. So I was the one who got banned, and I chose physiotherapy as my option to still be engaged in sports. So that's really the other side of why I try. So.
And I'll hasten to say that, I've been a part of the reggae boys as well, that's really allows you to make your contribution as well in that regard. So, that's always a good thing. So of course, being a part of the reggae boys and all of that, Ricardo, who I had the privilege of working with, and a part of what would have happened all the time, it seems as if the information is always there. You ask a question and generally would have to go on the phone and, start looking up things. Ricardo being in the room, you know, you're able to get the information then and there, you know. So Ricardo is a journalist as well. It is something that he does very well, you know. But I know there must be challenges with being a journalist and what he does. You know, Ricardo, are there challenges, or you just roll over them or step over them? You know, you want to tell us? For Chambers? You know, you were there earlier.
He's still here, but he seems to be muted.
Oh, it seems you're unmuted. Go ahead and let us see if we hear Ricardo. We're not hearing you, you know. Something seemed to be wrong. We're not hearing Ricardo. So while he tries to adjust his audio.
Is everyone hearing me now?
Oh, yes, we are. I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
All right, apologies for that. No, I was saying, anything that you do in life, I feel that there are going to be challenges. But I think the ones who come out and are successful are the ones who devise ways to ensure that they come out on the winning side. As an athlete, when you go out there to compete, no matter what sport it is, you are going up against an opponent, or in some cases opponents, and you have to devise the best strategy to ensure that you come out on top. And I think in many cases, it's the same in journalism daily. You have challenges. You have challenges with your work environment, whether it be an issue of equipment, whether it be an issue of other resources, whether it be an issue of time. But at the end of the day, there are to be no excuses. When you go on television or when you go on radio and individuals are listening or are watching, they really don't care what issues you had in getting to that point. All they want to know is that you deliver a quality product, that you inform them in the way they want to be informed. And so I think as a professional, the only thing you should be thinking about is how do I go about delivering the product at a high level, that those who are watching, those who are listening, those who are reading will be satisfied with the end product. At the end of the day, no excuses. The excuses are not good enough. It's about delivering what is expected. So yes, in short, there are challenges, but if you are going to be successful, you cannot dwell on those challenges. You have to figure out the ways to overcome them. And at the end of the day, you have to overcome them. That's what it comes down to.
Well, you know, when you say, you know, nothing is ever good enough, that you have to just ensure you deliver what you said you would have, or in your field, deliver as a journalist. It really brings me to preparation, and it allows me now to bring in Paulton Gordon, who, having served many years as a sports administrator, the director of community service, now a lecturer, and so on. I want to understand a little bit more about preparation. You know, you're in a career in sport. What preparations would you have made to be so involved, Sir Gordon?
Well, apart from preparing yourself and upskilling yourself to be good at what you are doing, everything that you do in life comes down to planning, and planning is a process. It's not something that happens overnight. So I'm going to use planning as opposed to preparation. And whatever sphere you're in, it is critical that you have a plan and you execute the plan close enough to how you had envisioned it going. In terms of my substantive work at UTech, what we try and do is ensure that we have teams of persons who have certain level of expertise and are connected and are networked, so that when we roll out our programs, they can make a contribution to planning, and the execution process is more seamless. So that's what we do. And whatever you do from a teaching standpoint, you have to do the very same. You have to prepare, and you have to prepare to deliver properly and to ensure that you communicate in a way that persons understand the role and the road that you're taking. And so the pathway is what you look at. You understand the pathway, and then you execute step by step in terms of that pathway. I'll probably, Ava, are you there? I just wanted to include another of our students who passed through her hands, and she can probably indicate what she would have done as part of Bread's Foundation in partnership with UNICEF, as it relates to youth using sports as a development tool.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. It's actually a pleasure for me to be here, especially since I was among the first batch of students to have earned a sports management degree from CSOSS. So with this degree, I was able to secure employment as a project manager for the EduSport program. Hi, Mr. Wah, how are you? So EduSport is basically a games-based learning program geared towards improving literacy and numeracy, discipline, attendance rate, and important social and life skills among infant and primary aged students through the use of games. This we were able to do with financial support from UNICEF and in partnership with the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. So my responsibilities included, though not limited to, the expansion of the program across the MOEYI regions from 7 schools to approximately 225 schools through the training of coaches and the PE teachers in the EduSport methodology, child protection, first aid, conflict resolution, and special needs. We also drafted and edited a manual that was distributed to the teachers to assist with it was like a lesson plan, a kind of guide with the games to assist with the delivery of the activities. We also managed to secure and donate uniforms and equipment to the schools. This included whistles, cones, balls, stopwatches, first aid kits, just items needed to facilitate the effective delivery of the program. So we had coaches in our program that had no degrees and no sexy subjects. So to ensure the sustainability of the program, what we did was partnered with Bethlehem College and GC Foster to design an associate degree program for these coaches in PE and coaching in an effort to ensure that the ministry started paying them as trained teachers. So for me, the sports management degree is quite diverse because it covers courses like sports agency, public relations, promotions and marketing, accounting, entrepreneurship, and so on, which I think is very important and could potentially improve your career options going forward.
Thank you.
For potential college students logged in, I would just want to say to you, on your college journey, you want to ensure that you create a balance between academics and experience. So try as best as possible to volunteer in areas of interest, seek mentors in your field of study, so that by the time you would have graduated, you are more equipped than the average candidate to secure potential employment, because you would have had the experience as well as networking opportunities which you would have created during the course of study. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ava. That's really a mouthful. You have your hands full. That seems like a lot you have going on, and
yeah,
having heard that, it brings back to preparation, which Mr. Gard spoke about. You have to be prepared. So of course that preparation would have also led to volunteerism, which is a part of what we do in order to be ahead of the field. And I know Mr. Owen would have also volunteered quite a bit before he would have been paid or remunerated for his services. Sir Owen, we want to speak a little bit about volunteerism. How was that, and how has that contributed to you being the professional that you are today?
For me, let me say good afternoon, panel, and others on the platform. Volunteering is something that comes genuinely from your heart. It must be something that you love and want to do. I have volunteered with a number of sporting organizations, football, track and field, and Gary, you know that I was also a volunteer at Intercol, where I served at different level. And when you love sport and when you love people and you love what you want to do, then the returns and the rewards, don't look at it right away. It comes down the road. But getting the task done is very important. And when you love something and you give yourself to it, then the work will be done. And then you will be rewarded, others will be rewarded. And as a team, you have to be a team person. And when you put that in, then the results will come. And that level of commitment and dedication to what you love, then the barriers, I'm sure, will be removed. From time to time, there will be various challenges, but as you look at the challenges and ways in which you can deal with them and handle them, then the work will come much easier.
Thanks so much, Sir Owen. Sir Chambers, one of the things I want to ask you, being a journalist yourself and being out there, what would be one of the most rewarding things for you so far in your profession?
You know, that's an interesting question. And this is the second time in the last week that I have gotten this question on such a forum. And like I said a week ago, I think the most rewarding thing for me is when individuals actually come up to me just randomly on the road or wherever, and they'll say, that piece of commentary that you did last year or the year before or 5 years ago made me feel this way, and I can't forget it. And for me, that is so important because a large part of what I do is, a part of it is information, but a massive aspect of it is entertainment. And the other aspect of it is leaving a lasting feeling that is positive for individuals who watch or who listen. And so when you can go by 3, 4, 5 years and you can still have individuals come to you and say, when you did that piece of commentary, or when you said this, or when you said that, I just cannot forget it. I keep replaying it in my head. I go back to that piece of commentary and I listen to it when I feel a little bit down. And those things, I think, would be the most rewarding for me, because that's a large part of why you do it. You want to inform individuals, but you also want individuals to leave with a lasting feeling of positivity. And so from that standpoint, yeah, it's special when that happens.
And I can share that sentiment because having heard some of the commentaries sometimes, I might not be in front of a TV, but once I hear you, it is as if I'm living the moment, and that is always good. That always says a lot, once you're able to do so, in that kind of scenario. Of course, Denzel, I would have lived many moments seeing you being a part of the Reggae Boys too, and of course, a lot of what you do sometimes is behind the scene. But tell me, would you have been discouraged at any point, throughout your career, or would you have thought yourself that maybe I need to do something else, based on some of the negative thoughts or influences that you would have had? Would that have come by, or would you have encountered that, Sir Williams, Denzel?
Yes, with many things, many professions. Like myself, being the head of physiotherapy for the entire Southern Regional Health Authority, which covers 3 parishes, Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth. And I said to my regional director once, and I told many CEOs that each week I have to travel from sometime depending on the journey, Mandeville to Black River, Clarendon to Black River. And oftentimes I'm going down and it's a long journey, and because of the love for physiotherapy and everything and the patients that you serve and the communities, then that gives you the motivation to continue. But there are many days when I reach halfway and I'm like, Father, give me strength, and I do put him first and push through, knowing that others like myself as physiotherapists would have left the universities and not necessarily have an income and need a space to occupy. You continue to push the service to grow in many areas that it doesn't exist. And I'm telling you that, there are days, not just in the profession itself, but as a person in society, where you see others that are in need of other services that you are not providing because of your registry. And there are days when I think that I would have gone the route of being an outright medical doctor because of some of the persons that I do see in need of certain little things right there and then. And it makes you think sometimes. But on other days, I would not give up physiotherapy for anything else, in all honesty.
Yeah, that's happy to hear. Because some of us need physio, because like me, who try to play and going up in age and so on, things will happen.
Yeah, man.
We need to get back on our feet, literally.
I saw that with my own eyes, trying to be the Neymar and the Messi, and it gets messy.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So of course, you also play a very important role, in ensuring that within our sporting industry, that persons are able to, after or before or preventing, that's a part of our well-being and how we continue and progress. Sir Gordon.
And sorry, Sir Garrix, and just to say to the panel and those who are looking on as students and so wishing for a career in physiotherapy, that you just think of physiotherapy as the caregivers from the womb to the tomb. And many persons see us as just massage people and all of that. But I want them to understand that there is inpatient versus outpatient. There's a clinical and non-clinical side. And there's also the industry side to this profession and the sports side to this profession. So I want that to be established, because even presently, Sir Garrix, in our daily operations, we have been on the front line from the day COVID touched our shores. So every day we suit up, we go into isolation and try to save lives just like everyone else. And we do these things, on the battlefield again in terms of sports, being there paramount to ensuring the protocols are created, facilitated, maintained, and executed so that sports that we love continues. So it's a big hat that the physiotherapists carry many days. So thank you.
Yeah, and I really hope that, on some days you really get the journey, mercies and strength, to ensure that you're able to carry out your responsibilities. Sir Gordon, I work with you. I encounter your passion on a daily basis, in terms of what you do, in the different spheres. And when I see some things come up sometimes, I'm wondering how many Paulton Gordons there are, based on the many responsibilities. But tell me something, what drives your passion in terms of what you do, Sir Gordon? What are you driven by? You could share that with us.
I'm going to confine that to the sporting field.
Please do.
As I indicated earlier, I'm not convinced that as a nation, I'm speaking about Jamaica now, we are actually serious about moving sport from where it's at to where it can potentially be. And it will take this group of persons and like minds to move it to another level. We have to start creating the environment to grow sport in a more sustainable way. And there are a lot of things we can do, but it has to come from some of the policymakers in terms of how we position the sport and how we create a real industry out of sport. And that's where I want to get. So my passion, as you rightly say, is about trying to create a platform for growth, for individuals to understand the industry, understand the potential of the industry, where it can go, and where it can take us. As I said, as I said again this morning, just looking at the era of sports tourism, if we can establish, like Malta, the country of Malta, some of the infrastructure needs that can drive sports tourism, you'll be surprised to see how that segment of the market grows. What Malta has done is the government has said, okay, we want to be a Mediterranean sports tourism destination. And because of the climate, they have an advantage. So they created the proper infrastructure, put the right persons in place in terms of training, so that a lot of the countries in Europe who want to have off-season training for golf, for football, for whatever it is, they head to Malta. They head to Malta for the summer. They head to Malta for 2-3 months, and there are a number of academies. And if we start to think of the competitive advantage that we have in Jamaica, and funnel some of the resources in that direction, we'll be very, very surprised to see how that leg or element of sports actually takes off. And those are some of my thoughts. There are a number of other things we could discuss, but with time limitation, we can do that another time.
Yeah, it is understood, and I too am interested in growing the industry, because I know there are benefits, and there are many things to be had, not just for the athletes who are performing, but for everybody involved in the industry. That it really can become your profession, your joy, your career, and you can earn and substantially take care of your families with what you do, in the end. So of course, having said this though, and I know Ricardo is a very busy man who is all over the place, but I'd like him to say it himself, to tell us what is a day like for Ricardo Chambers. Apart from everybody saying you are the star, you're on TV and so on as they see you. But what is a day like for you?
So before I speak specifically to what a day is like for me, let me just say for individuals who are thinking about a career in media, that there are so many different aspects of media. So for example, Everett spoke about being a statistician for the RGR group. Now, let me just say, when I worked with the RGR group, and let's use Champs as an example, both on radio or television, Everett will be that person who has so much information and who is giving us so much statistical information, being extremely quick with the point standings even before the official individuals put them out. So Everett can tell you that Edwin Allen is leading by 15 points as soon as the discus is over, before the final results even get to the computer room. And so he's able to push that information to us on television, and then we sound like geniuses. So that's one thing. Within television and radio media generally, you're talking about producers, you're talking about engineers, you are talking about individuals who work in the library to ensure that historical material is kept and is kept properly. So there are so many different aspects. Now, as it relates specifically to what I do, so I am a presenter / producer. So on any given day, I am up as early as 5 a.m. If I'm up 6:30, then that's a late morning. And as soon as I'm up, the first thing I'm doing is going through everything on sports on the internet to find out, okay, what's the big story today? What's going on around the world in sports? And that's the way you have to do it, because you have to be ahead of the game. And from there, I'm starting to plan my day. What are the issues that I'm going to be focusing on today? By the time I know that you are up, Mr. Garrix, then I'm calling off your phone at 8:30 a.m. because I want to book an interview. And after all of that is done, let's say that you accept my invitation to come on, which you usually do, right? You've never said no to me. Once that is done, once that is done, then the next aspect is that I'm now preparing specifically for that interview. And there are so many things that go into that. The preparation phase is so broad, is also difficult, takes up a lot of time. A lot of individuals feel that when you come on television or when you come on radio, that really is only the end product of a really hard day's work. For 95% of individuals who you see in television, there are very few individuals who you will see who will read news or read the sport news, that they might not be involved in the preparation of it. But for the most part, as a journalist, you are heavily involved in the preparation. And then what you see on television is really the final product being executed after a real hard day's work. So essentially, that's about how it works.
Preparation is key, they say, you know. You also have to be prepared, and of course, like anything else, it's competition. It's being competitive. There are other sports journalists, other media houses, you know, all of that goes into it. So preparation is key always, as you are saying now, and as others would have said. Sir Owen, I know you are prepared, a man with a whole lot of experience, years of it. You know, students are thinking about journalism, they're thinking about other professions. What advice would you give to them at this point, taking into account your years of experience and what you do?
As I've always said to my students, Gary, son, whatever you're doing, if you don't love it, leave it alone. Find something that you love. And there are different fields in sport that one can get involved in. There are coaching, there are sports medicine, different types of management areas that is very important. And you just need to find a niche that you love and you work at it. And as you work at what you love, then certainly you will get a level of success that you want. Ricardo made mention earlier on in terms of getting information. I noticed that we have Wayne Long. Wayne Long is somebody that I know from long time. And what happens is that in order to get the material that you need, you're talking about getting field events, there are some things that you don't get. And you have to walk with your pen and your book, get the names, get the numbers as quickly as possible so that you can track an event. And it's very important for you to know your field. Field events, if it's high jump, you know the different heights, what the height the bar is going to be raised at. The number of throws that will be given in a particular event. Is it the first round? Is it the second round? Is it the final? And you have to do your own assessment. You have to know your craft. And if you don't know your craft, then you won't be able to be successful in what you're doing. It calls that level of discipline. So you have to be prepared all the different areas. On the track, you need to know how many persons would qualify out of a particular heat to move on to the next round. You hear persons talk about, all right, it's 3 persons who will automatically qualify and 2 others. You have to have those top 5 times in a particular heat so that by the time all the rounds are through, you will be able to say, all right, these are the qualifiers, and you'll be able to pass that information on. Because we have a very, I would say, angry public who are out there listening. And if you don't give them the information, they're going to kill you. And you have to be accurate, you know, and you check the things and you throw that information. And when you do that, Ricardo makes mention of years after persons coming back to say so and so. I give credit to Bobby Frey one year. I think Andrew was a part of our team when champs was given to Calabar. And Bobby said, no, we have somebody, Trevor McCain, who went into his books in terms of the multidiscipline event and realized that a half point made a difference of so many points. And we declared, after champs was declared to Calabar, that JC won the champs. And what happened was that the Sunday morning, it was announced that champs was really won by JC and not Calabar. And they had Monday morning, Issa had to make the necessary adjustment. You know, so these are the things we need to be prepared, have the material and put the work into it. We have to put the work into it. Must be have that level of discipline.
Thanks so much, Sir Owen. And of course, you know, it is really fitting. You know, I was about to say your parting words, you know, for potential persons who want to join sport, but I can't ask that anymore once you'd have said what you said. So I'll go on to the other three panelists and give them the 30 seconds just to close out, you know, encouraging others if they wish to become a part of the sporting industry. So I'll start with Denzel first. Denzel, 30 seconds. What would you say to potential persons on this webinar who would want to become a part of the sporting industry?
I just say, you know, I've heard Sir Ricardo, I've heard Sir Owen, and it is true. I'd say to you, stick with what is your passion. Passion is what really drives one to achieve. Understand? So if you love it, stay with it. I love physiotherapy and I stayed with it and I am reaping the results and reaping the benefits. I remember just sharing. I grew up flying every little thing from paper planes to everything. I really wanted to be a pilot. But at the end of the day, and I got introduced to physiotherapy, and I haven't looked back since. So I'm saying, whatever you love, what is your passion, go for it, because you would go to other disciplines, other duties, and you would try to know, curse your employer, curse the workstation, curse the route that you have to travel, everything. When the obstacles come, you will not persevere and push on to be successful. So I'm saying, stick with what is your passion, because when the obstacles come, even when the road is filled with water up to your car bonnet, you will put the prayer first and persevere and sail through. So that is my bit of 30 seconds. Stick to what is true to you and know what is true to you and excel in your passion. Excel in your passion.
Thank you so much, Sir William. Sir Gordon.
I'm not sure if Denzel knows what 30 seconds is still, but
Sir Gordon, you're cold, man. Good to see you.
Well, I'm sure you'll teach him. I'm sure the teacher and you will teach him.
No, Mr. Gordon has long histories from basketball, you know, from basketball.
Yeah,
many histories, the Samada Samuels, the championships. We are winners, you know, we are winners.
Always that. Go ahead, Sir Gordon.
Well, as Denzel and Ricardo said, the passion is important, but also I think you need to add the aptitude. So when you enter in the industry, you have to determine where your aptitude match what aspect of the sport industry. So your skill set, your aptitude, your passion. And when you're engaged and involved, remember to focus and be consistent, because when lecturers like Mr. Garrix and Niall Legister Brown, I'm gonna make register. I'm gonna make when they're gonna make recommendations for industry persons, they want to recommend somebody who is focused and they know can do the job. So with all of that said, apart from your consistency, apart from your attitude, ensure that you wrap your head around it and you're quite focused, because ultimately it's a competitive world. And at this point in time, you have to ensure that you have positioned yourself to do well when you get that opportunity.
Thanks so much, Sir Gordon. One person I'm sure would have positioned himself very well is Ricardo Chambers, and he's poised to close off for this first panelist in the afternoon session. So being prepared, being poised, having the right aptitude. I'm not sure what Ricardo will say, but I know he'll say something. He's used to it. So Ricardo, your 30 seconds just to close off.
Yeah, man. Do what you love what you do. Be prepared to do, if you're going to be the best, because at the end of the day, that's what you have to aim for. But if you're going to be the best, then it means you have to do more than what everybody else is doing, or something different from what everybody else is doing that will allow you to stand out. So you have to think about that. Learn from the best as well. Get as close as possible to the individuals who have been there, who have done it and who have done it well. Understand what it took for them to get there, how they got there, and then create your own model, having put together everything that you have learned. But strive to be the best. Don't settle for the bare minimum, but think about, how can I be the very best there is in this profession, in this aspect of sport?
Thank you so much, Ricardo. The best. You know, it's fitting that closing, you know, because I'm sure those are some of the accolades that you would have received so far in the work that you do. So thanks so much for the 4 panelists. Of course, I really enjoyed it, and I'm taking note. You know, some of the things you would have said. I'm learning too. You know, there's so much more to do and so much more that we can contribute as individuals within the sporting industry. So thank you so much, guys, for sharing with us today. We are going to move straight into an item from the saxophonist as we listened a little bit to him play. And then, of course, we will have our giveaways. We always have something that we give away, but we don't just give away. You have to come up with the answers to the questions that will be asked. So, of course, thanks so much, panelists. Saxophonist, the floor is yours. Take it away. All right, while he comes, Sir Wong, are you ready? Let's start with the giveaways. Once the saxophonist is prepared and ready, then we'll have that item. But Sir Wong, we want to give the giveaway. Remember that you are to type your answer in the chat. And of course, the first person or persons to come up with the answers will be rewarded. Sir Wong?
All right, so it is my time, Mr. Garrick.
Oh, okay. Sorry, go right ahead.
Yes, all right. So we have come to the end of our session, and I know that you were listening. Very interesting session indeed. Our 4 panelists were great. And so we have a question to pose to our viewers about the panelists. So let's see how much you were listening. The first question: what is the name of Mr. Poulton's student and their area of study at UTech? Let me repeat the question again. What is the name of Mr. Poulton's student and their area of study at UTech?
While we wait, you could ask the second question. So, you know, they could type away.
All right, so the second question: who are the 2 journalists that was on the panel just now? What's the name of our 2 journalists that was on the panel just now?
There you have it. We have 2 questions, 2 giveaways. I see Tracy and Griffith coming up with the right answer for question 1. So we have a Tracy and Griffith, and I'm seeing a T. Robinson. I'm seeing a T. Robinson who is also coming up with the answer. So of course, you could be contacted
Sir,
and you.
Sir Garriggs.
Go ahead.
T. Robinson missed the first name, so it seems like it's Sheldon Brown.
Okay, all right.
They got
Sure, no
Mr.
problem.
Owen's first name incorrect.
Okay, good. So those two persons will be contacted and you will get your prizes for participating.
Through
For
the
question number
moderator, we're
one, we
having
haven't
a
got the
little
answer for
challenge.
question number one.
Come on, we got
Yes,
it already.
we did.
Okay.
Tracy and Griffiths.
Okay.
Through the
Thank you.
moderator, we are having some challenges with the chat,
Okay.
so we cannot communicate with them privately. So I'm going to post an email address here. We're asking them just to send your contact number. We'll contact you and give you the prize there. Okay, please. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Thank you
No
for
problem.
participating.
So thanks much for participating. And of course, there's also, we're asking that you fill out a form, giving us your feedback on how the session was so we can better prepare next time. So please feel free to do that. As we go into our second set of panelists for this afternoon session, we are going to have with us our own, how could I forget that? Our own Andre Waugh, our own Natalia Godfrey, Mr. Rashid All, and Mr. Andrew Richardson, who's also our own. It is a distinct pleasure for me to welcome all four panelists. And even while I'm just doing the welcome of the panelists, I'm going to ask Ms. Rosemary Nelson and Mr. Andrew Rose to officially welcome all four. So please just introduce them to the webinar.
Okay, you're hearing me loud and clear. There's a little bit of a challenge getting on. Okay, so.
Yeah, we're hearing you, Sir Rose.
All right, I'll start with Mr. Andre Waugh, who is a graduate of the International School of Physical Education and Sports in Cuba, and of course, the University of Glasgow, where he obtained a master's degree in physical exercise therapy. He's currently the CONCACAF Development Officer for the Caribbean, and prior to his joining CONCACAF, Mr. Waugh lectured at the Caribbean School of Sports Sciences and the Faculty of Science and Sports, and this is at the University of Technology, of course. He has served as the fitness trainer for the Jamaica senior national football team, that's the Reggae Boys, and of course, over the period, his long list of accomplishments includes qualification for these teams to the Under-17 World Cup in 2011, winning the Caribbean Football Cup in 2010 and 2014, and the Reggae Boys finishing second at the 2015 CONCACAF Gold Cup. Mr. Waugh is a Jamaica Football Federation coaching instructor, and he was appointed as the first CONCACAF coaching instructor he was appointed to the CONCACAF coaching instructors panel in 2013, and he has remained a FIFA fitness coaching instructor since June 2015. Andre is, of course, bilingual, married, and has a 6-year-old daughter.
On the surface of Natalia Godfrey is a university lecturer with over 5 years of experience in the world of academia. From a very tender age, Miss Godfrey was curious about the development of personality and its evolution. This led her towards the career path of psychology. In 2009 to 2014, she attended La Universidad Central de Marta Abre in Santa Clara, Cuba, where she obtained a master's and bachelor's degree in applied sports psychology, and co-author and scientific article, The Effects of Placebo on 100-meter track and field athletes at the start of a race. Upon graduating, she worked with several sporting teams such as Manning Cup and the Costa Cup football teams, Jamaica Reggae Boys under 17, skeet shooting athletes, and track and field athletes. Her current interests include sports psychology, research, learning different language, landscaping, swimming, and learning about diverse cultures.
Okay, so other panelist is Mr. Rashid All. He's a Jamaican international sports administrator, and he has resided in Switzerland for the past 6 years. Having moved there after receiving a full scholarship to study Masters in Sports Administration and Technology at the Academy of International Academy of Sports Science and Technology in Lausanne, Switzerland. Of course, Lausanne is one of the Olympic capitals. Mr. Hall is a native of Montego Bay and a former recipient of the Prime Minister's Youth Award for Excellence in Leadership in Jamaica. He has been heavily involved in community service and works through the Kiwanis organization to carry out some of these service activities. Prior to his journey to Switzerland, the former Cornwall College old boy, I don't think you want to be called an old boy, worked as a sports coordinator at the University of West Indies, Mona, and where he managed the newly developed sports scholarship program, which was the brainchild behind, and he was also the brainchild, my apologies, behind the UWI Sports Leadership Academy and the annual UWI University of Technology Sports Championship. During that time, he was also part of Jamaica's national delegation to the Commonwealth Games, the CSE Games, the World University Games, and of course, some of these took place in Glasgow, Scotland, Veracruz, Mexico, Kazan, Russia, and Shenzhen in China. Rashid became the first Caribbean national to work at the headquarters of the International Olympic Committee in Switzerland, where his project management was aimed at developing and presenting the sustainable strategy for the IOC and the guiding international federation on the new approach of project management in sponsorship. After his time at the IOC, he went on to the CAA11, UEFA, Sports Sponsorship and Media Agency for National Football Team, as well as sponsoring coordinator for managing various global accounts, including Oblak Soccer, and he was also involved in projects such as the Trophy Tour, Fan Zones for Euro 2020 football. Currently, he's a major partnership manager for the International School of Geneva, where he works on development projects for the school to the support of UHW, UNHW individuals. During his time in Switzerland, he has also remained active in the Jamaica Association of Switzerland, an organization which aims to showcase Jamaica's culture in Switzerland and provide an avenue to which Jamaicans in the space can connect. He's a supporter of Chelsea football, so while I'm a Tottenham supporter, he's a proud father and husband, and he's always supportive of all Jamaican teams.
Okay, the last presenter, Andrew Peter Richardson. Andrew Peter Richardson was born in September 6, 1981. He has always been involved in sports, but his passion resides with cricket. A West Indian cricketer who bowls right arm fast, represent Jamaica from 2003 to 2014 after competing in the Under-19 World Cup Series in 2009. He also represented the West Indies for their tour of England in 2009. Mr. Richardson currently holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Sports Sciences, specializes in sports management, which he obtained at the University of Technology through the Caribbean School of Sports Sciences. A former manager of the Talawas from 2015 to 2019, Andrew presently dedicates his his professional abilities to being the head coach of the West Windward Island Volcanoes and the manager of the Barbados Tridents. Mr. Richardson is married and has a daughter. Mr. Garris.
Thank you so much. You know, it is really a pleasure, these panelists, when I hear the tremendous work and accolades surrounding these names. You know, who would have thought someone who would have gone into sports would have been able to accomplish so much and have these tremendous responsibilities and careers in sport. So, of course, welcome to everyone. And without further ado, I saw the name, you know, and a familiar name in Natalia Godfrey. I said, you know what I mean, how did she get involved with sports? Partly because to become a sports psychologist, you know, a field that is relatively new, you know, what would have led her to become a sports psychologist? And who better to explain that than herself? Ms. Godfrey?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. To be very frank, I was interested in studying psychology, but I've always been, I've been hearing the panelists speaking about passion and purpose. I've always been passionate about sports. I knew I was not athletically inclined, so I thought to myself, what better career than blending psychology, which I'm very passionate about, and sport. And so that is how I really got into the field of sports psychology. I also studied in Cuba, and so as you know, sport is a very lucrative area in Cuba, and there's a lot of emphasis that is placed on sports in the Cuban culture. So that's how I really got into sports psychology.
Good. I'm happy to hear, and of course the contributions now. It is very, very important, the contributions that you make. And I'm also noting that you're having some issues sharing your camera at this time. So
yes,
please,
my apologies.
Please forgive her, but we're having a little issue with the camera. But not that won't take away from your comments and your conversation. Of course, very important you would have gotten to that level, and it is something that is extremely important. I would then go to someone else who would have had the experience of also studied in Cuba, and also ask, how were you led to study sports in Andre Waugh?
Hey, sir. Hey, Sir G. Thanks, and thanks for having me. One of the things oftentimes in life, you choose things, but sometimes some things choose you. I was one of them persons who literally did not know what I wanted to do. Whilst in high school, at one point I wanted to be a doctor, next time I wanted to be a writer. And, I just kept, switching from one thing to the next. What I always knew was what I didn't want to become. And I didn't want to become a prof. So anything outside of that would have been an option for me. So I had done 1 year at community college, 2 years at community college. I'd completed a course in electrical technology. And radically, my next move was one to take a year off and then go to UTech to study engineering. During that year, as everyone would know, you're trying to work for a year to save money. You never really save enough money to go to school. But then I was there in the office one day working, and I got a call about an opportunity to go to Cuba to study. And, at first I thought, it was engineering, and the person said, no, it's physical education. And I was like, physical education? I never really thought about that. But then I said, all you knew that you didn't want to be a prof, and this is probably a way out. So I explored, and the reality is it turned out to be one of the best decisions, I've made. When there, studied, left with a degree. That was our priority. But also importantly, I left with friends who have now become, family, and have become a part of my life. So I'm truly blessed to have, taken up that opportunity.
Well, it is something that I can relate to. Kind of going down a similar path. Yeah. Studying something else only to be transferred to sports. So I can relate to that. But I am sure though that there were also challenges that one would have faced, in terms of naysayers as we would have gone down that path. And I can relate, because when I was transferring, a friend of mine said to me that he's not sure how is it that I'm going to leave business administration to go and study ramping. That's literally what was said to me. I didn't see it as that, but there are others who are seeing it like that. So, for example, Rashid Hall now was gone all the way across the globe to Switzerland to study sports and to be what he is today. There must have been some negative thoughts, whether by himself or by others. Sir Hall, can you relate to this, or you would have been encouraged all the way through your career to today?
Thanks, Sir Garrix. Pleasure to be here again to share a bit more information with the panelists and the persons on the call. For me, it's probably a little bit different because I did my master's in sports. My undergrad was at UE in management studies with a marketing specialization. So when I made a decision to go and pursue the master's, I had been working in sports for 5 years before. But you're quite right. You know, at that time and even today, the industry in Jamaica is quite small. And so therefore, when you decide to go and specialize in such a narrow field, let's say, there was always concern. And that's for me is actually why I went so late. Already from 2 years in, I thought I wanted to do a master's in sports, but I just was not confident that this was the right move because of the fact that the constriction of the industry back home and what would that need to me to do. But I think after 4 years into it of working at UE and the number of things that we did, and there was a sense of euphoria and excitement with all the different projects we were doing at that time. And of course, as was said before, getting the opportunity to travel a few times with the national teams. For me, I realized that one, quite frankly, I was probably the youngest person there by at least 15 years most of the time. And if there were at least 10 jobs locally, I just said to myself that, I was going to put myself in a position to at least get one of those. I've always had this drive to whatever era I'm in to be the best possible. I mentioned in the previous session earlier that even when I was young, if it was even to become a garbage collector, I said to myself, well, I was going to be the garbage collector of the year if it was that direction. And I think that drive and approach certainly helped me to just get over those, let's say, nervous feelings about whether this was really a field to specialize in. And certainly no regrets there. We always have to choose, as I think maybe Andre had said before, but things that we feel good about, things that we really are able to wake up each day and be happy about what we're going to do. And for me, I certainly think I made that decision. And when I look around at my friends today, I certainly see, as now a parent and trying to think about how I will, teach my kids, I certainly see a lot of people I know who perhaps were guided down a certain route, which was considered to be the safe bet, but a lot of them now turning in other directions because that's not really where their heart was. And so I would just encourage any student on this or any parent to just, in 2021, where we can monetize in many different ways, follow your dream and carve out your niche to be able to do that.
Rashid, I take the opportunity to also ask you, what is it that you do? What are some of your roles or responsibilities at current?
At the moment now, I'm at the International School of Geneva, so I'm a major partnerships manager. The easiest way to say it is think of AISK or Hillel, but the oldest one in the world and probably the most, let's say, prestigious, been around almost 100 years now. And they're on a massive campaign to try to develop the school even further. One of the biggest projects we have is a new indoor sports center, $22 million project, which I'm semi-responsible of finding the partnerships and the funding for that. But we also have other things. They're doing us. We have a scholarship program for refugees. We have a new sustainability plan in place as well, and many different things. And this is, I would say, a new element to my experience. But perhaps that's one thing I would share also with younger persons and students on the call, that we sometimes try to focus so much on today, what we want to become. And as we've heard from the stories, life's about stages, things change. So in Jamaica, I've worked with athletes and events and scholarships and that kind of thing. I came to Europe, worked on the business side of sport, worked with sponsorship for major events, and now working still in business and partnerships, but now a lot more with, let's say, high net worth individuals, billionaires, millionaires, and a few corporations. So it's even a different element to it, and how you try to get those persons to buy into what you're saying, especially when it's not necessarily a marketing thing. It's more of a, I feel I want to be part of this journey kind of thing. So, it unfolds as it should, and we just have to ensure that we just follow our direction in the right way.
Okay, very, very, very interesting. I wanted to be a national sportsman, and I wouldn't even say what sport. I thought I was well-rounded. I played football, I played cricket. I wanted to become a national athlete at some point. But at some point, I also realized that no, it wouldn't happen. At some point, I had to take on school seriously because sports was going to be it for me. But of course, I'm sure Andrew Richards possibly can share in what I'm saying. Having represented Jamaica, having represented West Indies in cricket, he would have gone way further than I have. And I wonder at what point he would have thought, I need to transition from sports now, being a successful professional sports person to becoming or having a career outside of what he did as an athlete. So, Sir Richardson, I'm not sure if you can share with us, what was the mindset around that in that period, and what led you to do what you are currently doing.
Sir Garrix and all the other panelists and all the hosts, thanks for having me once again. It is very interesting, Sir Garrix. As I told you guys probably earlier, I started UTech in 2001, where I was trying to pursue a degree in computing and IT. And that was simply because my uncle, is very influential in the decisions I make in life. He went to KC and I went to KC as well. He went to UTech, so I went to UTech as well. And he thought that I should study what he studied because there's no way having him around, I wouldn't be able to complete this degree. But after the first semester, I had a heart-to-heart conversation with him. And to be honest, during that time, I had a serious injury that people thought that I might have never played cricket again. I had a back injury that, they were still trying to figure out how they were going to get me back on the field. And during that time, it was 9 months to a year. So I said, let me start back school again. And I did one semester in computing and IT, and I realized this thing wasn't working, But during that time, I got fit again and I realized I was ready again to play cricket. So I had a discussion with him one night and I said to him, the regional tournament is about to start and I'm going to play for the West Indies B team. He says, how I'm to school? And I tell him, boy, it's not working. And they're a big family meeting. And he was adamant that you are not going to play any cricket. So I said, really and truly, this meeting is just to ask who is taking me to the airport in the morning. It's not to, to ask if I'm going back to school or not. And I played and I enjoyed my time playing. When I got to close to 30 years old, a sportsman's life is shelf life isn't as long as you want it to be. Not a lot of us is gonna play until we're 40. So when I got to 30 now, I realized that, maybe it's time for me to start looking after life after cricket. It was very convenient that at the time we had the cricket coach at UTech. He was working along with the Jamaica team as one of our team liaison. And I had a conversation with him regarding, what programs are being offered. And he told me that, there's a new sport faculty being, introduced and it just started to enroll students. And I said, try to get some more information. And, I was gonna go away and play the season in England and then come back. And then when I came back, I just came straight. The very next day I came to school and applied. And, enrollment was fairly easy for me. I got assistance from, it's funny when the day when I went into the office to get my forms to register, I saw Mr. Paulton Gordon. And Paulton used to work with the Jamaica Cricket Association at the time. So all of that made the transition into a student athlete very easy for me. I can tell you I am one of the stories from the UTech Academy, because when I started, I didn't have all the required subjects to get in, and I went to UTech Academy and did some of the science subjects to qualify. And with all of that, I was very determined that I will have to finish this degree because I had other players in my team that expressed their interest in enrolling in school at the time. And we had a meeting. I remember us having a team meeting one day when about 8 members of the team who were 30 years old. And one of the players on the team said, now is the time that we have to get our degrees, because if we wait any longer, when are we going to use it? So if you wait until you're 45 to pursue a degree, when are you going to use it? When are you going to use that degree to get employed so you can have a certain standard of living, so you can enjoy, the good things in life? But for me, the transition was fairly easy. It is so funny. I mean, not even funny. I have had calls from, players, because I'm very fortunate that I also got a scholarship from the dean of the Faculty of Sport at that time. And, he said to me, you can invite other of your teammates to come up and, to enroll in school. And only one person came with me. And you all know Mr. David Bernard. He's the only person on the team that came with me. And now, if if I hear about any sort of job or anything, I can pick up the phone and call David if I'm unable to do the job, and he's qualified enough to do it. And it's funny that, you know, I've got other team members who would call me from time to time and ask me to assist them in getting into positions which they aren't qualified for, because they thought that, you know, the 4 years at UTech would have been too long. And for me, as I said, you know, the class time felt very easy. The lecturers, I must say, made it very much easy for me. And when I look around the class, there were a lot of people who, you know, I did the same thing that I do, represent the country at a high level and just in different disciplines. So we all became friends, we are like family, and, you know, that connection is still there, where it is easy to pick up the phone to make whatever connection, whatever sporting discipline, even around the world. So it has been very good for me. I'm still learning, you know, I'm still learning as a coach. I'm still learning as a sport manager, because, you know, every day present a different challenge. But as you grow and become more experienced, it's easier for you to take on that challenge. And a lot of the courses have certainly helped me to sit with even doctors and have recovery and help to write recovery programs for my players, you know, and it has been really life-changing for me. I said this before, it doesn't feel like work, because sport has always been my passion. My parents used to take me to every sporting discipline when I was, you know, from I've been 4 years old, I've been going to the National Stadium, I've been going to Sabina Park, I used to go and watch netball, you know, and it has always been a part of my life. So for it to be my job, which doesn't feel like a job now, I keep saying that, and it is awesome. It is awesome. You get to interact with, you know, people that, you know, you only probably think you only see them on TV, and, you know, I'll get up in the morning and see 3 missed calls from that person. So, you know, it is not a bad life if you play your cards the right way. One piece of advice I could give to anyone who gets into this faculty is save every business card that you get, because you never know what can happen from a simple conversation.
Thank you so much, Sir Richards. Now, I was hearing, I really kind of just missed the part where I was saying, boy, if I could just only be a sportsman at the time, you know, I love the transition that you made. I didn't get the chance to, you know, so I'm still dwelling on that a little bit, but you lived the life, you know, but more importantly, you also prepared for life after, and it is really a joy and a pleasure when I go see you anywhere, see what you're doing. You know, and I'm happy that you would have encouraged others, because this is what we're ultimately trying to do here. But I know there might be drawbacks too for persons who are prepared, because like for Godfrey, who is on the call too, who would have gone and prepared herself, I know there might be naysayers, you know, saying the same things. Why is she involved in this? Why not do something else, or why not become something else? And I know there might be others along the way who might be having the same experience in making their decision to study sports, that they might be having these kind of influences or thoughts. Ms. Godfrey, what would you say to them in this regard?
Well, first of all, it is very important to, you know, identify what you're passionate about and pursue it with. To be honest with you, sports psychologists, I feel, even though it is a very beneficial and essential field in sports, it is not well recognized, or it does not gain the respect and recognition that it deserves. I myself, I'm one of, I think, 4 sports psychologists here on the island. So, you know, what I think is trying to sensitize persons, sensitizing persons about the importance of sports psychology. First of all, the body and mind are interrelated, they go hand in hand. So there is no negating the fact that psychology is a very much important factor in optimal functioning. So I think it's a matter of sensitizing persons. And I'm actually I'm actually given that task, especially as the only sports psychologist graduating from Cuba, coming back to Jamaica, getting my name out there, making myself known, making connections, doing a lot of voluntary services as well. So I would encourage persons to, do their research, sensitize, conducting seminars where you sensitize even coaches, because sports psychology not only incorporates athletes and their optimally functioning, but working alongside coaches and even parents as well. So sensitizing persons about the importance.
Yeah, I think that is very, very important. But more so, I know one thing that could be very encouraging and supporting in that regard is how one live, his or her life as a sports professional. What are some of the things, for example, that one would do, and this is why I go to Andre Waugh to ask him, in the life of Andre Waugh, what does Andre do on a daily basis? What would make me want to be Andre Waugh? And if I were to ask myself this question, I'll probably answer in a way that everybody would become Andre Waugh. So, but I'll allow him because he's here.
One of the things that I've always challenged people to be is to be better than Andre Waugh. I mean, we're all unique in our own ways, and I really want to spend my time here on Earth, inspiring the next generation of leaders to be greater than than what they came and they saw. Certainly, I want to be better than my predecessors. But in answering that, let me just speak a little bit to what I currently do in my role as development manager at CONCACAF. So I spearhead a lot of capacity building initiatives for coaches, technical directors. Chief among them, we deal with coach education, we deal with technical leadership. I'm very passionate about leadership. Like John Maxwell says, it's everything rises and falls on leadership, and I believe the degree to which we can rise or what we can achieve is is linked to the level of leadership. So we organize conferences, forums, workshops, you name it. But my day starts out, very early. Anyone who knows me, I like to get up before a lot of persons are up. So I'm generally up starting working somewhere around 4 a.m. in the morning, whilst my colleagues, in Miami and elsewhere are up starting working at 8. I've already put in 4 hours of work because I think that is important, if you want to get ahead of the game and you want to make the type of impact that you want to make. So one of the things that I benefit from is that it's dynamic. So it's not necessarily routine, the things that I do every day, but I try to fit myself again in a particular structure where I get up early and I do this and I do that, so ensure that the path is clear. So that's it pretty much in a nutshell what I do and what my day looks like.
Yeah, I've always said when I wake up, I see the messages from Andre that, yeah, Andre must be up,
The point.
Messages.
The point we make, we send messages at that time. We don't necessarily expect people to respond, but since we're up and we're working, yeah, that's how we approach it.
Yeah, it is important to, as you said, to see the trends of what happens and what makes the successful people successful. So it is always important to also have a look and to see from their point of view what it is that they do that is different from the average person.
Yeah.
So of course, while we are coming to the end, I'm just going to ask each of you as the panelists to really give your 30 seconds of how is it or what would be your word of advice to anyone who is at this time contemplating making a career choice to become a sports professional or not. What would be your word of advice? And I'll start first of all with Andre, since we just conversed, and you just give us your 30 seconds of what would be your greatest advice to them at this time.
Yeah, go for what you truly love. Don't focus on the money, because I tell you what, there's every career in the world you can make money from if you have the right attitude and you choose to do things differently. So there's absolutely no career in the world that you can't become wealthy from. It's how you position yourself. It's the value that you add, because that is what people are going to pay you for, the value that you add, you know, just wanting to be different and wanting to make an impact. So for me, don't focus on the money, because if that's what you're coming into this or any career for, then you're already starting at the wrong point. Go for what you love, go for making an impact, and position yourself, and everything else will come.
Thanks, Sir Wall. And Miss Godfrey, while I'm asking, you know, your advice to them, someone would have also asked, you know, what is required for you to be a sports psychologist? This is one of the areas that we are not totally familiar with. So in your response, could you include that as well?
Sure, not a problem. Well, you definitely need a bachelor's degree in psychology and some kind of introductory courses to sports and understand background in sports, and definitely a bachelor's degree in psychology. In order to be an applied sports psychologist like myself, it is required that you have at least a master's degree.
And the advice that you would now give to the potential persons who are contemplating their degrees at this time or profession?
Okay. Well, specifically as it relates to my degree, I think it is very important that you have excellent communication and interpersonal skills, and that is something that can be honed, that's something that can be developed. Definitely you have to have an interest, a genuine interest in sport. As Mr. Wall would say earlier, you know, it's focus on something that you are driven, you're passionate about, you're intrinsically motivated by, because, you know, it is true, you can make money from any career, but at the end of the day, it should be something that is self-rewarding, and you know, sports psychology is something where there are times where you may be discouraged because you do have a lot of naysayers. Even there are times where sometimes the very coaches that you're working with are very skeptical about it, because sports psychology, there tends to be a negative stigma. They automatically assume sports psychology with mental illness, and that is the furthest thing from the truth, to be honest with you. So yeah, it's about you know, ensuring that you're driven, you're interested in sports, you're passionate about helping persons and counseling persons, because as I will tell you, the role of a sports psychologist, it comes with being a mother, being a confidant, being a friend, being a bank sometimes. You know, there are times where you have to help out certain situations. So, you know, keeping that in mind, that having a strong interpersonal skill or component where you can pretty much interact with people from different walks of life, where you can come into contact with different persons from, you know, different backgrounds and things like that. And also being able to make athletes aware that it is important to be culturally competent. So being culturally competent, because you're going to travel to different countries, you know, the importance of perception, you know, how you understand certain situations, you know, certain phenomena such as discrimination and racism, and all of these things are topics that sports psychology takes into consideration.
Thank you so very much. Sir Richardson, what would be the advice you would give to those who are contemplating their career choice at this time? What would be the advice to them? 30 seconds. Sir Richardson? All right, while we wait on Sir Richards to come, Sir Hall, you know, I was wanting you to wrap up, you know, from the panelists, but, you know, that might still be the case. What would be your advice? Somebody who possibly also looks at the international side of things, operating possibly outside of Jamaica, you know, what could be one of the advice for them going into a new culture, as was said by Ms. Godfrey just now? You know, share with us.
Yes, Sir Garrix, for me, I think the first point is to seek out the information that you need. We live in a world now that's very connected, and a majority of the things that perhaps some people from before wasn't able to access, we can access that online and through various networks. So people always ask me, how did I end up in Switzerland? How did I get here? Um, my school, the academy I went to has been around, I think this year they say it's like 19 years old, started in 2003, I believe. And the 1 year I went is the only year in the 19 years that they gave a full scholarship. It is something that it still puzzles me to this day. They've never did it before or after. They've done half scholarships, female scholarship, athlete things, which I wouldn't have qualified for. But I was on the lookout. I was always trying to find that opportunity. I got into Loughborough, I got into Tampa and all different things, but then this opportunity came. I believe that the youngsters out there need to, really, if this is something that they love and want to find out more about, the information is there and they need to think globally. Of course, there are many opportunities locally as well, but I also have many friends who are even in Jamaica right now working for overseas companies, doing work overseas. As the pandemic has showed us, physical is still going to be the main part going forward, but it has changed completely. Here I am now, it's after 10 right now, and I'm involved helping UTech to talk to young persons. It's a pleasure for me, but it means that we have no limits and boundaries anymore. So it's up to us to decide how far we want to go. The second thing I would say is to try to find a mentor. I didn't particularly have one myself, but I do understand and can see the major benefits of having someone to help and guide you, to be your accountability partner, to show you the ropes. Most of the things we try to do in life have been done before. There's someone who walked the walk before, and if you can get that push and get that opportunity to learn from that person, we're always having to remain thinkable. Our teachability index has to be high, and so therefore we are always able to learn from others. And to volunteer. Maybe that's the last thing I would say. Majority of the benefits that I've had and the experience I've had have come from volunteerism. My actual journey into sport came through volunteerism. And the people on the call, I can tell you, I see Everett Owen, I see Wayne Long, I see many other persons, I see Mrs. Wisdom there as well, to yourself, Gary, especially in sports in Jamaica. You have to be ready to put in the hours to be able to be a part of this industry. You have to be, and so if you want to test yourself to see if you're really willing to go out there from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on a track meet because there's 20 class to 100s, the best way to know that is to volunteer. Give up your time, get the exposure and the experience, and that will carry leaps and bounds. A big part of why I got the scholarship was because of the things I had achieved, most of which came from volunteerism. So I didn't get any financial benefit for those things, but they helped to build a certain profile, which was regarded by these people as well-rounded and something that they wanted to promote. And so that led to that happening. So a lot of times when I talk about volunteerism, people, everything has to do with cash. The long vision, the future, the road down, the road ahead, volunteerism helps quite a lot. Majority of the things I got into, when I went into Intercal, I had no clue about World University Games and all that kind of stuff and the various exposures. It was just to help athletes to have a better platform to perform locally. And it led to many things. Same thing at UE Sports Department as well. I started as a volunteer. So I would just encourage them, the summer is coming up, what's your plans? Join a federation, volunteer, get you a part of an event. Andre probably needs some help. He's willing to take it, and to guide somebody, ask him to be a mentor. But very serious, that's the best way to get yourself to have an understanding of, is this really where I want to go? And once you make that decision, no regrets. Life has different phases and different stages. So if that's not the long term, it will change. If it is, then like everyone who I look up to and Wayne and stuff, you'll be doing it for 20 odd years and you love it every single day.
Thank you so much, Rashid. And while it seems we lost Sir Richardson, I think it's really a good way, a fitting way to close out, the discussion. I want to take the opportunity to hail the persons who would have been on YouTube, who would have been following, who would have been posting questions to through the YouTube channel. So I just have to say big ups to them as well. But it has really been an informative and inspirational talk from all of you. I'm really happy that we were able to participate and to have this webinar. For me, I'm just thinking about things, how can I become the 4th panelist in one? How can I'd have to wake up at probably 2 a.m. to have some work time for everybody, Or would I connect with Rashid when he's hours ahead, and up but I'm sleeping? these are just some of the ways, maybe I need to volunteer at some of the different activities, that are happening, just to be able to get the networking in, and to also find out whether it is my passion to be a part of it or not. It is extremely important. Sports helps to open many doors. Persons would have spoke about scholarships that they would have had, working opportunities that they would have had. And I've not heard anybody said they have regretted being a part of the sports industry or choosing their career paths in sport. So for me, it's kind of no waiting on. Some of us would have been a part of these discussions to apply, to make the transition, to be a part of the Caribbean School of Sports Sciences and the university. So I want to say a big thank you to the 4 panelists. Thank you very much for participating and for sharing with us today, and all those who are involved on this webinar. Thank you so much, Rashid. Thanks, Andre Waugh. Thanks, Ms. Godfrey. Thanks, Sir Richardson. Of course, he's not on, but I send the sentiments nonetheless. And all the participants. So, it sounds like I'm saying, the vote of thanks. I'm not. I'm just saying a big thank you to the panelists. There are so many others that we have to big up as we give the vote of thanks. But first, as per usual, we're all in our vibes. So we have to give the giveaways. And I see where my good friend Dalton Myers is involved. No, you can't respond. He generally knows everything. So it would not be okay for him to answer the question. So as we go now, we're going to be having our final giveaway. So Miss Normally Grasset is going to ask the questions. Feel free to type in the chat your response as we go. Oh, I see Mr. Wong. So it's Mr. Wong that will give the giveaway, right?
Yes. Nama took my slot. So all right,
no
so greetings everybody. So we're going to type in the chat. Now the first question is list 3 of the 4 principles that the Caribbean School of Sports Science is built on. List 3 of the 4 principles that the Caribbean School of Sports Science is built on. The second question is, what kind of psychologist is Natalia Godfrey? And be specific, what kind of sports psychologist is Natalia Godfrey? All right, so let me monitor the chat now, people. Do we have a winner yet?
No, I see somebody says sports psychologist, but that's not what we're looking for. We need to be more specific than that.
Please remember to monitor YouTube also.
Yes.
Please note that, remember that YouTube is delayed, so while the answers might not come in, please give an award to the YouTube person or persons as well, or the first from YouTube.
The first from YouTube.
All right.
I see we have Miss Zeola Ricketts. Is she qualified?
All right, so,
yes.
All right, so we this is Williams.
No, Mr. Denzel Williams is not
Yes,
qualified.
Come on,
based on
Mr.
the
Williams is not qualified.
Yeah.
Based on the question, she can.
Okay. So remember to send your information to the email.
And for the first question, we seem to have to not have any takers. Nobody recorded that.
Nobody answered it.
Dana Marie Adams did it in her presentation there.
I was about to say, Sir Wang, you could give the answers and then you award the host, that would be fair game.
That not sound bad.
Yeah, if no one wants to take it on. But I really like for them to be reminded.
There were 4. And I just asked for 3.
I really like for you to remind them of what they are, since there are no takers for it.
Okay, you want me to do that now?
Go right ahead.
All right, that's research. The principles on which the Caribbean School of Sports Science is established are built on research, teaching, service, and team spirit. Those are the 4. So
Thank
that's
you so
research.
much. And I send my contact information in the group so I can be awarded. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, Mr. Garriggs, just a moment there. We have
Go
Cheryl
ahead, Doc.
Garriggs Lloyd, who has been answering in the YouTube chat. So for the 3 specializations, she had athletic training, sport management, art and science of coaching. And for the question regarding Miss Godfrey, she said applied sports psychologist. But I must tell you, even though she missed the prizes because we name other persons, I really think we should offer her another prize because she has been here for the first session and the second session. She has indicated from the first session that she wanted to be part of an inclusive research with physical education. So really want to thank her for her participation. So please, can we find a prize for her? The support prize.
And the
Yes.
biggest prize too.
The biggest prize too. Yes, please.
I endorse
I take the opportunity to say that she's actively involved because her child will be graduating from the Caribbean School in short order. So she's actively involved
I
in
was
this.
very cautious that you didn't rule her ineligible, you know, but she's still eligible because
She
she's not the
is
student.
because her child, yes. So I wanted to acknowledge that, and I'm happy that you did, especially that there is some relation. I think you could have recognized the last name.
You tried everything to rule her ineligible, bro.
No, I haven't shared anything, I'm just saying. While all of you will get off and rest well, I won't. I'm just saying.
Oh, so you're ensuring that she gets surprised.
Yes.
For your own good.
So, of course, without further ado, I am going to now ask that our own Dr. Winter Adams just bring a closure to today's activity, the webinar, and to bring for us the vote of thanks.
I don't know if you can hear me now because we're having a...
Yes, we're hearing you, Doctor. I'm hearing you.
Yes, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for spending the time with us today. First and foremost, I must thank our panelists who delivered so well and gave us such a mouthful to consider, or is that a mouthful to consider? It must be the hunger talking to me now. But gave us so much to consider in terms of their support, their happiness with the job. We're hearing that we're to find a mentor. We're hearing the persistence that is key. We're hearing of the mentorship, not just the mentorship, the volunteerism, because many of the things that we hold dear in Jamaica. There was a time when my uncles would tell me about the youth service and the volunteerism from that. And to have persons now talking about it as a key component for bringing back sport, to going forward in sport and just going forward in Jamaica, I can only say thank you for that. Thank you for the persons who have logged on YouTube and to Zoom. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. And I can't part without saying thanks to the moderator who kept us along and just wielded everything together and meshed everything together. And the team. Can I tell you the hardworking team that worked to put this together? We're talking about persons from PE. We're melding the interaction between the tertiary education, the secondary, and the primary education. We feel so supported when we have persons on our team who volunteer their service. Volunteerism, please, they're not being paid. They're not paid by the university. These are persons who just said, let us meet, let us pull this off together. And I remember in the planning session, Mr. Wong saying that we're going to look forward to doing this every year. We don't just want to do it 1 year. And when we thought we were too tired and people were too tired, I wasn't even in on all of the meetings. You had Mrs. Legislator making sure that we were held together. You had, I'm trying to remember all the names and the participation. Mr. Rose, who was tech savvy. And out of all of this, people, what we've seen is that research is going to come out of this. So we did it for the career in sport, but we see other possibilities because the team is so dynamic. There's so much depth, there's so much what you call experience that we cannot sever this tie with this group. This is something that we are going to push forward to. When I said research, when I said, guys, we need to get together a book, people were excited. Remember, this is Jamaica, we are used to being on top. And so I'm going to have to tell you, thanks a million and one times to the organizing committee, the committee that put together this stellar I tell you, webinar. Thank you so much. And our adopted technician, Tetleroy Henry. I met Tetleroy when he helped us with our webinar, Safeguarding Sport.
Andrew, share the link again, please, for the evaluation. Post it again now, please. Thanks.
And I met Tetleroy then, and his commitment to excellence and professionalism. I cannot tell you that I want to find somewhere I can include him into the school because he is extraordinary. This legislator was saying something to me in my ear, but I have to tell her, a piece of rain falling. I haven't heard a clue of what you were saying. But for anybody that I've left out, I want to tell you that it's not intentional. Just thinking that I must be having a very bad moment here online. But thank you so much. And we look forward to many other collaborations that will happen as a team. Let me just check my chat to make sure I have everything covered, please. Because I would not be forgiven if I don't tell everything.
Doc, I'd like to say that any information that persons might have questions, that they could email the sports career at gmail.com.
Okay.
Any career issues they might have, feel free to share. And also
yeah.
remind them to complete the survey.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Garif. I am there typing it in the chat. Careers 2 at Gmail.
Yes, at gmail.com.
All right. So thanks again, everybody, and back to the moderator for his closing remarks.
All right. Of course, it was an extreme pleasure.
Mr. Gary.
Yes.
Before you close, over here from YouTube, I just want to just pass on this information. Cheryl Gary lied. She said that she wanted to highlight that she was a part of the lobbying to have physical education accepted as a CSEC or CAPE subject for admission to nursing. So, that's really great. I hope that come true. So, yeah, so that's from Mrs.
I hope so too. Is there another prize for her?
Yeah, I was just wondering.
There's another prize for her. But it is an extreme pleasure, of course, to have participated, to have hosted everyone involved in the sessions, whether it was the morning session or this afternoon. It was very interactive and then informative and also entertaining. I want to also say a thank you to the saxophonist who played for us as an item for the earlier session. We had some difficulties, but from what we heard, we could have heard that he did a good job. I want to thank the planning committee. I want to thank everybody involved. I may not mention all the names, all the committees, all the support, but I just want to say a big thank you to everyone, to Tetleroy, Bossy. I saw him pass through and link you up. I know where to find you, so don't worry, we'll pass through and link you up. But thanks to everyone. Thanks to the dean, vice dean. Of course, special recognition to our head of school, who as I said, is our driver at this time. But also a very big thank you to Mrs. Brown Legister, who would have really worked very hard to have all of this done. To her planning committee, you know, big ups to everyone. You know, when I see the familiar faces and the good job that you all would have done, is really pleasing. And I too am thinking about a career in sports. Don't think that it has slipped me. I'm working hard thinking about it. And I'm sure at some future event, I will be able to share some of my new experience in sport. So it was really a pleasure hosting everyone. I wish for you all a very rest of your Labor Day, whether it be through production in other means, or it might be rest for some, because you'd have already been very productive. Take care, enjoy the rest of your public holiday, and all the best. And looking forward to some of our participants and their applications to the Caribbean School of Sports Sciences at the University of Technology, Jamaica. All the best, and looking forward to future interactions with all. Thank you so much.
Sir Garrix, just to reinforce, please remember to complete the evaluation and assessment. We're looking for a lucky number, and that person will be contacted with a prize. All right. We're not telling you the number, so just go ahead and fill out the forms, and we will contact you, that lucky number, with your prize.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Have a good afternoon.